Welcome back to the worldwide fun of algebra. So this set of videos is going to take us through the applications of completing the square. So there's going to be some more examples of completing the square as well as two applications. And then after this video you should be able to complete the next homework, and there is a quiz that's through Delta Math that you should be able to complete. It would do all of chapter 9 up until what we've done. So you should attempt this warm-up, all 5 of the problems. If you need to, press pause on the video and try the warm-up. Okay, let's go over it. So the first set of questions says find the value of c that completes the square. Now you want these to be perfect square trinomials, which, remember, perfect square trinomials are of the form a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So c is going to be something squared, and the way you do it, remember here, it's 2ab. We're going to take our 12, divide it by 2, that gives you 6, square that, and that is your c. So the value of c that makes this a perfect square trinomial is 36. So you would have x squared plus 12x plus 36, and that factors as x plus 6 quantity squared. Over here, take note there's a minus, and that's going to come into something we do. You're going to take your b, negative 10, divide by 2. That'll give you negative 5. Square it, and that'll give you your c. So your c here would be 25. So the perfect square trinomial would be x squared minus 10x plus 25, and that would factor as x minus 5 quantity squared. Okay, now we're going to solve each of these by completing the square. If you need to pause the video to solve them, please pause the video. You can pause between. I am going to start. So the idea with the first one is I'm going to subtract 88 from both sides and get x squared minus 24x plus box or plus square is equal to, negative 95. I knew I forgot something that I was doing. Negative 95 plus box. Now to figure out what the box is, that's what we were doing up here. I'm going to take the b, my negative 24, divided by 2. That gives me a negative 12, and square it. And that quantity, 144, goes into the box. So I will have x squared minus 24x plus 144 is equal to 144 minus 95 is equal to 49. The left-hand side is a perfect square trinomial. X minus 12 quantity squared is equal to 49. Now I can solve using square roots. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And I will get x minus 12 is equal to plus or minus 7. The square root of 49 is 7. Add 12 to both sides, and I will get x is equal to 12 plus or minus 7. There are actually two solutions. X is equal to 12 minus 7, or x is equal to 12 plus 7. This is x is equal to 19. This is x is equal to 5. And that's the solution by completing the square. Okay, for the next problem, I'm going to add 42 to both sides. Excuse me. And I will get 10x squared plus 20x plus box is equal to 30 plus box. Yeah. Okay. So now, remember, I like to complete the square when a is equal to 1 and b is even. Right now, my a is not 1 here. So I'm actually going to divide everything by 10. And I'll get x squared plus 2x plus box is equal to 3 plus box. I should have done that before putting the box. So now, to figure out what goes in the box, I'm going to take my b. 2 divide by 2, that equals 1. Square it. That goes in the box on both sides. That's why I like to write the box on both sides. And so I will get x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 4. The left-hand side is a perfect square trinomial. X plus 1 quantity squared is equal to 4. I can now solve this using square roots. Square root of x plus 1 quantity squared is equal to the square root of 4. X plus 1 is equal to plus or minus 2. And then I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides and get x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus 2. And there are two solutions here, so I'm going to consider the two solutions. X is equal to negative 1 minus 2, or x is equal to negative 1 plus 2. This is x is equal to negative 3, or x is equal to 1. Now, you actually could have solved both of these by factoring, and I know that just based off of the solutions. But the directions did ask for completing the square. But now I'm going to jump to the third problem. And the third problem, you're going to be left with a radical in the solution. Okay, so subtract 77 from both sides. X squared minus 24x plus box is equal to 77, 87, 89 equals negative 89 plus box. So to figure out what's going to go in the box, I'm going to take my negative 24 and divide it by 2. That gives me negative 12, and I'm going to square that quantity. So in the box goes 144. I think we've seen that. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize we saw that in the first one. So now we have x squared minus 24x plus 144 is equal to 144 minus 89 is 55. The left-hand side is a perfect square trinomial. It factors as x minus 12 quantity squared is equal to 55. I can now solve this using square roots. Take the square root of both sides. Left-hand side is x minus 12 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 55. And I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And I will get x is equal to 12 plus or minus the square root of 55. One thing I will tell you, no perfect square other than 1 goes into 55, so this is the exact solution in simplest radical form. But I want the approximate solutions as well, so I'm going to do x is equal to 12 minus the square root of 55, or x is equal to 12 plus the square root of 55. Going to grab my calculator. Hey, Mr. Calculator. Okay, 12 minus the square root of 55. And I'm getting x is approximately 4.58, or x is approximately 12 plus the square root of 55. Approximately 19.42. Okay, so that gave you a little more practice with solving by completing the square. The rest of this lesson is actually going to be some applications of completing the square.